Okay, so it says we're live, but just gotta make sure. There's always this like awkward phase here while I'm making sure it's live. We are live here. We're gonna be talking about how to get deals even in this insanely hot market. Uh, Okay, we are live. Awesome. Okay, fantastic, guys. So excited here. We're going to be sharing like how to get deals in this insanely hot market. So as you guys know, if you even dipped your toe into real estate, read an article, read a newspaper recently, you'll know that it is a hot market, and a lot of like what we're seeing is pretty unprecedented, honestly. Like with where inventory's at, inventory's at an all-time low. Not all time for the last 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. We're talking all-time low forever in American history. Typically a healthy real estate market has about 6 months of inventory. 6 months of inventory. And basically, what that means is like if you list a house, typically like, there's about 6 months. If there's no other houses listed, there's about 6 months of about 6 months left. Like if people start buying houses, so that's kind of like what that means. So like if there's no other listings ever, then it'll take about 6 months to sell everything. So that's basically what they look at. So that's what a healthy market is, 6 months. And I mean, depends on where you're looking at. For me, it's like 2 months here in my Alachua County. Gainesville is like 1.5 month. Some parts of the country are like 18 days, like in the hottest market. So it's some of these places are pretty crazy to say the least. But yeah, so it's a really hot market. It's really hard to get deals with that in mind. If there's less houses and less houses and more people looking for them, then it's going to be harder to find a deal because you're going to have like more like a smaller and smaller. If you can think of like a pond, is a good analogy. If you can think of a pond and like a pond, and let's say the pond has fish in it, and you have fishermen trying to get the fish. Let's say like the pond gets smaller and smaller, and like the fish start dying, and then suddenly like there's a lot more people also who want to go see the pond, like a lot more fishermen, and so the smaller pond, more and more fishermen. So then like there's less fish. So harder to get started. So that's kind of what we're seeing. Just trying to think through analogy here. It's not just like low supply, which is also the case. It's also like a high demand. Like everyone wants to buy a house. Lots of people want to be real estate investors. All that's well and good, but it's definitely making tough to get started. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. Like just to give the background, people might be saying like, well, I already know it's a hot market, so let's get into it. So for this like live here, I definitely want to get into some of the strategy and like how I'm still getting deals. Before we get into it, if you are watching live, comment hashtag live below in the comments. If you're watching hashtag replay and watching on the replay, comment hashtag replay. What that does, it helps build engagement so more people can see it, so more people can benefit from this Facebook Live. So hashtag live, if you're watching the live, hashtag replay, put that in the comments now. And again, it's going to really help get exposure, get more people watching, all that good stuff. So there we go. Got it. Hey, Ryannon, I still can't get your name. We got Jessica, we got Ashley. Awesome. Cool. So that's what I've seen. So it's a tough market. A little more background on me. So my name is Victor. I'm a six-figure house flipper. You can see it there on the wall. I've been flipping houses full time for about 2.5 years. Last year did about 20 fix and flips. This year the goal is 30 fix and flips. So I've actually bought so far about 11 houses this year, which is great. So happy for that. And I have about 4 under contract. With this being today, like this is the first half of the year. So if I close everything I have under contract, then I am on track. So that's great. So on track for the goal of 30. So how am I able to do, 30 deals, much more, 50% more than last year, even though like last year was a looser market where it's easier to get deals. So how am I able to do so many deals, even when it's like a crazy tight market? And it's not like I'm in a small town of 5,000. I'm in Gainesville. It's kind of a secondary market, so still pretty competitive. So how am I able to do that? And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I think the first thing here, I want to like get as broad as possible. I see a lot of investors make the mistake of like there's what's called on-market deals and there's off-market deals. So I see a ton of investors especially when they're beginning, like, okay, cool, I want to get started investing. Let's get started. Okay, let me get a realtor. Let me get on Zillow. Let me start looking at deals. They quickly find out as they're looking at deals, like, okay, wait a second. Like these numbers don't make sense. Like the day I show up, if I think it's a good deal, like there's a dozen other people there, I always get outbid. All the good deals go really quickly. So people find that out pretty quickly. Like, hey, these MLS deals are pretty, don't make sense. Like this, none of this makes sense. And the problem is, like, you're competing with a lot of people for those MLS deals, and people like who have cash and who can do the work themselves. So their economics are totally different. Like if your renovation budget and your cost was like cut in half because you were able to do the labor yourself and you were able to pay cash, so there's no, closing costs, nothing like that. And then on top of that, some people buy for appreciation. So they just buy the property and sit on it. So instead of, investing in the stock market, they, invest in real estate, and they just let it sit there because they know it's going to appreciate, 5%, especially now, like 10% per year. So it's hard to compete with those types of people. So that's why I recommend staying away from MLS deals. And I get this question a lot with like beginning students, like, oh, I found this great deal on Zillow, and that's great, like MLS listed with a realtor. But to give you any context, like, so last year did about 20 flips, as mentioned, only one came from MLS. So the vast majority is off market. That's like the first thing. So it is possible to get deals off of MLS, don't get me wrong, but it's just so much more work that's not even worth it. So that's like MLS, non-MLS. Let's talk about auctions. It's a pretty similar story with auctions as well. A lot of beginners tell me or ask me as well, like, okay, what about, auctions, tax auctions? What if we go to those and get deals that way? And it's a pretty similar issue where it is public, like everyone can have access to the auction. So that's the first issue. So it's pretty competitive. That's what I saw as well for my area. Like the numbers just, again, don't make sense. Like it's a little bit better than MLS because it's a little less public, but still, like, the numbers didn't make sense. So even the auction, I've never done an auction deal. I've had students who tried to do auction deals and they quickly ran away, and they wanted to focus on the off market. So basically, what does off market mean? Off market means like you're going directly to the seller. You're going directly to the homeowner and dealing with them directly. So there's no realtor, there's no like middleman. You're just talking to them and seeing if they want to sell their house. So that's what I recommend for like the first thing. So before I get into details, like I want to make sure like we're on the same page there, because like the rest of it kind of follows suit from that thing. So hopefully that makes sense. If that makes sense, comment that makes sense, or comment yes, I'm with you. Comment below just so I know I'm with that you're with me. Put it that way. There we go. So that's the first thing there. It's like on market versus off market. You want to focus on the off market. The next thing here is really like a real sales process that works. So I do a sales process. I'm going to get into some detail here. I do a sales process. I kind of call it like the 1-2 punch. So basically what it is, so like for your first initial conversation, like you're talking to them, you're building rapport, you're asking questions. And this is maybe a phone call. Typically like a phone call is how it's set up. So you're asking questions about the property, how long have they owned it, all these types of things. What's the condition of the place? So that's the first call. And then the second call is more of like an in-person, ideally it's an in-person visit. Second most ideal is like a phone call as well. And that's where you present the offer. So I see a lot of like beginners make this mistake where they kind of do like this, trying to do like a one call close, and it just doesn't work. Doesn't work as well. I don't think I've ever gotten a deal that way, honestly. Because if they don't really know you and you put in an offer for the place, it's so easy, especially it's going to be a low offer because we're investors, as you can imagine. We want to get the best price. So you got to tease them with a low price just to kind of see where they're at and see where to go from there. So that's the story there. So what do I want to say there? That, but if it's just one phone call, it's so easy for them to just be like, oh, no, thanks. And then they'll never talk to you again. But if there's a 2-call process, like it's a little bit better for them to, to like get to know you, like they'll spend a little more time with you because they've gotten to know you. So typically I do that like first phone call and then like do the next call like in person, like the next day, or like just to give them some time to kind of get to know you. because then they're going to have a little more familiarity. So that's really key. I think the other key with that in terms of a sales process, make sure you're presenting your offer like in person or over the phone. So some sort of live version of that. I've seen a lot of newbies, and this is like a beginner mistake, and that's totally fine, which is why we're covering it. Like okay, I want to offer a place, so they like text an offer or they email an offer. And what's wrong with that is it's so easy to, the person like doesn't have their reaction live. So they have time to think about it. So they have time to think about it so they can like respond the right way, say the right thing, and they can counter. And if they need to take like 6 hours to counter, or they want to take 12 hours, or they want to take a couple days, they suddenly have time to really think about it. And that's going to affect it. Like part of the sales process, like you want to get them live, and you want to be able to handle their reaction live. So if they say, "Ooh, that's too low of a price," you can say, "Well, hey, no, that's no problem. This is just a starting point. Where do you think you need to be to make this deal happen?" So that's really the key there. Is you can catch the reaction live, so then you can go back and forth, and that's when you start the negotiation process. And I see the negotiation process as kind of like this back and forth tennis match, if you will, where they go and they give their offer, then you go, you give your counter, and now it's their turn. It's another common mistake where beginners often like they negotiate with regards to the offer. Okay, what about 50,000? Would that work for you? What about 55,000? What about 57,000? You're just negotiating with yourself, and you have to have that common back and forth to be able to work with people, see if there's potential, see if it's a good deal there. So you don't want to negotiate with yourself. So that's another key thing. Like you want to go back and forth, and slowly you'll get to a number that works for everyone. But you have to have that. It's kind of like a dance. Like you have to have, when you're dancing, like you don't go twice, you don't do two steps. Like you kind of move together, and that's how I like to liken. What we're talking about here, which is that sales process. So that's the other thing. I think the other thing with the sales process, I'll touch on this in a little bit, but it's also like the follow-up. So it's pretty rare for me to get a deal on my first go. Typically it takes about 10 touches in terms of follow-up, and a touch is maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later. You kind of tailor it to the situation, tailor it to the person. But I get a lot of deals on follow-up. And the average for me is about 10 touches. So that's maybe a voicemail left, or maybe I leave them a text, or like a phone call, or like an email if I have their email, or like an in-person visit if I've seen them in person. So typically like 10 touches, which is where a lot of beginners also make the mistake. They're like, okay, well, they didn't accept my offer on the first go, so this isn't a deal. And it's rarely that they do accept the first offer. Maybe at the same time, what I like to look for when it comes to follow-up is what I call the gap. I'm giving a lot of good tips here. I'm getting into a lot of weeds here, but I like to look at the gap. And that's like where you are and where you need to be in terms of price, and then where they are. So let's say you are at, let's say you're at 50,000 and they're at 60,000. That's a pretty small gap. That's like a $10,000 gap. So it makes sense to follow up with that person. But if let's say you're at 50,000, they're at 200,000, that is a huge gap. I would really hesitate to follow up with that person, because you have to fall a long way basically to make that happen. So that's how I look at it for the follow up. So if you have a small gap, yes, follow up. If you have a big gap, don't follow up. This is the rough translation there. So that's how I look at it there. So again, 10 touches. And it's so easy, because I've been there. It's so easy to give up. Like if they're not picking up or not responding to your text on number 2 and number 3, number 4, but like it just works. Something happens with them and their situation where it clicks, and they're like, okay, well, hey, this isn't working. Like, hey, I'm owning this property, it's going nowhere. Let me give Victor a call and let's make it happen. It's happened so many times, like 2-3 months of follow up, and it finally clicks and it's a deal. That's happened countless times. It's happened countless times. I think the other thing I want to mention with the sales process, I had Greg Helbeck on here, and he's been doing this a little bit longer than I have, but he's super successful. And he was talking about negotiation tips. I think the first thing he mentioned is like, can I help this person, versus just trying to push a product. It's like, hey, can I even, it's coming from the standpoint like, hey, I'm a professional problem solver. So you're trying to find what problem they have and you're trying to solve it. That's another tip that I've really liked and that I've seen a lot of success with. Like if you're just trying to buy their house for the cheapest, like, yeah, you'll have some success, but it's not going to come from the right place versus if you're trying to help them, trying to solve a problem, and trying to help them out. And that's why I follow up so much, because sometimes people are in like really, really tough situations. Maybe they realize it, maybe they don't, but it makes sense. Like if someone's going through a divorce and they have a terrible property and they just want to get rid of it, and then it really makes sense for me to like follow up that much, because I really care about the person. Like, oh, I'm their best solution. I know like if I buy it, this is going to be easy, convenient. Obviously I'll make a profit and that's great, but then I get to solve this problem for them because they have a property they don't want to deal with. They're going through a divorce, just want to get rid of it, as an example. So that's why I follow up so much, because in my head, like this person still has this problem unless they tell me otherwise. I want to make sure they have this problem solved. So that's another way I look at it. So, being like a professional problem solver is really key. They've also done a study. I'm really diving deep into the sales stuff, so hopefully it's valuable. Comment below if it's valuable, and comment below if it's not valuable. Maybe it's not. So what was I going to say? Oh, they've done a study for like who's the best, because basically what we're doing, I mean, we're doing a lot of marketing and sales, and the sales is like that conversion process. Like, okay, we got someone who wants to sell their house. Like, how do we get it under contract? That's kind of a sales process. So we really want to hone in on our sales skills. And they've done a study like who are the best salespeople? Like who's the top 1% of salespeople across industries in the world, and what do they do differently that sets them apart? They did this great study, and they found out like it's people who spend the most time on the front portion of the sales process versus the last portion. It's like the first portion is like rapport building, getting to know the person, making sure it's a good fit, understanding their needs, understand like what they want, and then like you have your little presentation, then you have like objection handling, like, oh, that price is too low, like, oh, I don't know if this is a good fit. That's that portion. So that's like the rough sales process. That's the rough sales process. So the best salespeople spend the most time, spend 80% of the time in that rapport building, like getting to know the person, like understanding like where they're coming from, what their needs are, what they're looking for, what's their time frame. So I really want to liken it to you guys. Like I've done sometimes like visits where I'm there for like 30 seconds or 90 seconds or 5 minutes. I don't get that deal. I've had different ones. Obviously it has to make sense at a fundamental level, where I spend 20, 30 minutes and I do get the deal. And I spend the time because I'm trying to understand like how I can help. And you're just trying to understand like how you can help. Like, okay, well, how long have you owned this property? Like, okay, can you even afford to do the renovations? Like, these are good questions. Like, what's the condition of the property? Like, why are you looking to sell now versus, why not wait 3, 6, 12 months? What happens if you don't sell the property? How much is this property costing you per month to just sit here? So questions like that, like really, really open it up. And again, you just want to get to know them, get to know the property. Like, hey, what are some renovations you think this place needs? And just like asking these questions, and by spending more time in the engagement phase, let's call it, and like the rapport building phase, you're just going to have more luck, because people want to have more success in doing deals, because people want to do business they like with people they like. So if they don't like you just because you're in and out, then it's not going to be a fit. I think that's enough on the sales process. I think the other thing with today's market is why I've been just to liken it to the how to get deals in this insanely hot market. So I'd say in this market, speed is key. So if it's a deal, making sure you sign the contract that day is really key. Even that hour is really key. If you wait a day, and I've done that a lot recently, like you miss out on the deal, and that really sucks. That's happened before. So really making it, the speediness. I typically buy houses, the first thing. Second thing, I typically buy houses on 70% rule. I've been a little more lax with that recently. So even if it's like 71% ARV, like I still take down the deal just because I know the market's going to appreciate. So I've been looking at that. But just like the speed, because even if you wait an additional day, like the timing is key. And then like being a little looser with your numbers, just because you can sell it for more. So that's really been key, especially in today's market. Like I've had deals where I'm a day late. I've had deals with a wholesaler, like the wholesaler sends me a deal, like, okay, great, I'll see it tomorrow morning. And then he calls me back in like 5 minutes later, like, hey, someone else bought it. So the speed is key. So that's part of like knowing your numbers, doing your analysis. So that's key as well. So I just want to talk about that speed and that rapport building and like being a problem solver. That's all very important, especially in today's market. That's key. I think the final thing here, and then I'll slowly wrap it up and open up to questions. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them now in the Facebook comments, and I'll answer them afterwards if I still have time. I think the final thing here is to understand, like, a big part of this is a numbers game. So it's not just like, okay, I made 3 offers and didn't get any of them, so I'm going to give up. So real estate isn't for me. Typically for me, for off-market deals, and that's why I talked about off-market earlier. Typically for me, for off-market deals, it's like 1 in 15 offers becomes a deal. Like I put an offer on 15 different properties, 1-5, and one of those becomes a deal. So this is really enlightening for beginners, because maybe they go through, and I've had beginners ask me and students ask me before, like, hey, I have made 8 offers and I haven't gotten a deal yet. What's going on? And I say, like, okay, how many offers on average does it take to get a deal? And I say 15. Okay, how many offers have you made? I've made 8. Okay, what do you need to do to get a deal? They say, okay, well, I need to make more offers. And that numbers game aspect to it, especially if you know that number, it might be a little bit different per market, per type of marketing you're doing, all that different stuff. But the key is, like, realize, like, you're going to be getting no 14 out of 15 times. You're going to be following up with 14 out of 15 people, and it's not going to go anywhere. But on that one where it hits, it's going to be huge. And it's important to look at it from that perspective. So it's that numbers game aspect to it. So I know, and I've been there, where you're, on offer 12, going on offer 13, you're like, is this, am I even, doing the right thing? Like, what the hell's going on? I'm not getting any deals. So just having that understanding. I like to have like a little notepad and just like literally write it down. Like, hey, oh, made an offer, little tally, made an offer, tally, tally, tally. And it just makes it less emotional, makes it less personal, where it's like, okay, well, I know it's a numbers game. And that's how you can differentiate yourself, especially in today's hot market. How you can differentiate yourself from other investors, where they might give up on number 7, they might give up on number 9, number 17 even. But if you're the one who keeps going, like, it is going to happen. 100% sure it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time at that point. Great. So I'm going to open up to questions. If you have any questions, pop it down below. This has been an interesting one. How to get deals in this insanely hot market. Quick summary, then I'll open up to questions. Is like, what's the problem? Problem is like a shrinking pond is the metaphor I used, and there's more fishermen on the pond, so it makes it tough to get deals. Did a quick introduction on me, like how I was still able to buy 11 houses even in this craziness. Explain like MLS on market versus auction versus off market. We talked about like a sales process. I got into probably too much detail there, but that's good. I also talked about how speed is key, where you got to be quick. Like if you miss it by a day, so you got to like orient yourself to be quicker. Get really good at your analysis. Like know how to run ARV quick, know how to run repairs super quick, and then just being confident there. Final thing is numbers game. 1 out of 15 offers becomes a deal. Got to put it into work. There's no other way around. I wish there was a magic button, a magic deal button. I haven't found it yet. Let's open up to questions. So we have Jessica who says it is. So I think this is me asking if it was helpful. We got Gabriel says, sure, it is. Thanks for joining, Gabriel. Ryan on, let's give me a thumbs up. Great. Ryan on says, REOs, short sales, foreclosures. What's your recommendations on those? So I've never done an REO, never done a short sale. I've done foreclosures. So there's different like layers of motivation. So typically, like, okay, let me think, put it through this way. So like if someone has a property for 100,000 and you offer 50,000, like why would someone take that offer? Like who in their right mind would take that offer? And the answer is there's some level of motivation there. And motivation can come in a lot of forms. It's something like divorce, which I mentioned, late on their taxes, a foreclosure, code violation. Like I can keep on listing things, but that's like a layer of motivation where like, I don't want to deal with this property, or maybe they're out of town and they're like an out of town person. Like, I don't want to deal with this property. So it's motivation. So foreclosure is a form of motivation. So that's what I've done before, but I haven't done the REO, haven't done the short sales. REO, from what I've seen, like the prices are too high, the numbers are off. That's the first thing. And then I've seen for short sales, like it takes a long time, it takes like 6 months to close it, which if you can do a deal in 1 month or 6 months, like which one would you choose? So hopefully that makes sense. Ash says, no such thing as too much detail. Thanks so much. Very cool. Well, that's it for me, guys. If you have any questions afterwards, go ahead and pop it down below. I'm here to help, but thanks so much for joining, and yeah, appreciate it. And yeah, keep me in the loop and let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to hit me up. As a final thing, like I do offer mentorship. It's the 6-Figure House Flipper program. This is the free group. Totally fine if you just want to be in here to get free resources. I also like help people get started flipping. Like, how do you get the funding? How do you get the deals? How do you run your numbers? I teach you more in depth. This is like a quick teaser. But if you're interested in that, feel free to hit me up on Messenger. Just hit me up, shoot me a personal message. And we'll take it from there. But I can mentor you. I do lifetime mentorship, but how to like guide you through it step by step, how to do your first deal, how to hit 6 figures. I have a ton of students who have done that. So exciting stuff there. Well, cool. I'm going to wrap it up there, but appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. And until next time.